may have found the most pathetic Republican senator in the country. Now, I know all of you probably think, oh, it must be X or it must be Y, or there's a lot of choices is the point. I'm talking about Markwayne Mullin, Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin. He started to debase himself last week. Last week, Markwayne Mullin was asked, hey, you've said horrible things about Matt Gaetz. You've revealed, how he would brag about underage girls that he was sleeping with and show you pictures on the floor of the House. You've told us about all these things. Clearly, you wouldn't support his nomination to AG, right? And Markwayne Mullin just kind of said, well, I trust Donald Trump's decision-making process. I really do. It's getting even worse. Markwayne Mullin was interviewed over the weekend, and he was asked by Kristen Welker on NBC News, you don't defend the stuff that RFK says about vaccines, right? Because Markwayne Mullin has actually accepted the science of vaccination. He was not a longtime anti-vax guy. You know vaccines don't cause autism, right, Senator Mullin? And Mullin just totally debases him and says, you know what? I don't know about any of this stuff. I think RFK may be onto something. Check this out. What a 180.
Scrutinize all of those picks robustly. But Senator, let me just go back to this because you've been on the record saying that you do believe vaccines are safe and effective. You're not concerned about RFK Jr. overseeing the largest health agency in the land?
I have said that there's some positives to vaccinations. I've also questioned vaccines multiple times, and I think they should be questionized. For instance, why is America highest in autism?
Did he just say they should be questionized? I've got to hear that again.
Questioned vaccines multiple times, and I think they should be questionized. For instance, why
I think he says questionized. Wow.
is America highest in autism? But what is causing that? Is it our diet, or is it some of the stuff we're putting in our children's system? It used to be almost not even heard of. Then it went from 1 to 10,000, then to 1 to 5,000, 1 to 2,000. In some races right now, 1 out of every 36 kids by the age of 3 have developed some form of autism. What is causing that? And if it is the vaccines, there's nothing wrong with actually taking a hard look and finding that's what's causing it.
So listen, the United States does not have the highest rate of autism, but also this is a much deeper issue politically. So let's talk about a couple different things. First of all, we've interviewed experts on this. The U.S., you can say a lot of things work well and not well in the American healthcare system. Globally, the U.S. does a very good job screening for autism. There are many more checkpoints at which autism screening can take place. We've gotten better at diagnosis. We are getting increasingly good at identifying what we might call high functioning or low on the spectrum autism, et cetera. That's number one. Number two, the U.S. is also not the highest. Like, depending on where you look, the numbers actually vary hugely. There's one study I looked at which says the U.S. is all the way down at 136th in terms of the autism rate. That's really low. Another study says the U.S. is 6th highest in terms of autism. Regardless, we're not number one. But even if it were true that it is not because of better diagnosis, it's just there's more autism in the United States than anywhere else, it would also not prove that it's vaccines. And also, the U.S. doesn't lead the world in childhood vaccination. If you believe that the vaccines do cause autism, and that's why the U.S. has high autism, if that's true, right? There's all these ifs. It would need to follow that the U.S. is doing more childhood vaccination than other countries, if you want to argue that it's vaccines that cause autism. And that's also not true. If you look at countries like Portugal, the Seychelles, Bhutan, and others, they have way higher vaccination rates for child vaccines than we do in the United States. Why don't they have the higher autism rates? Well, then they would resort to, well, maybe they're not good at diagnosing autism. But that's exactly the point we're making. That seems to be why the U.S. has become more frequently a diagnoser of autism. So like every aspect of it is wrong. Every aspect of it is an unproven if. But let's not even talk about the specific vaccine autism part. Let's talk about Markwayne Mullin. This is what starts to happen when people like Trump come in. I think Mark Wayne Mullen is horrible. I think he's a horrible senator. His political views are disgusting. But he used to tell the truth about Matt Gaetz. He used to be much connected to reality when it came to vaccination. And when people like Trump come to power, it normalizes repeating a bunch of this stuff. You pick RFK, it becomes clear you're either with us or you're against us. You're either with RFK's view on this stuff or you're against us. Mark Wayne Mullen, I doubt, believes any of this stuff. I think Mark Wayne Mullen still believes his old view about vaccines. I think Mark Wayne Mullen still believes Matt Gaetz has no business being attorney general. But now he feels obligated to say it. And this is what happens when the cult takes over. And this is a real difference between left and right, sometimes to our detriment, sometimes not so much, which is all of the right-wing media ecosystem was completely united behind Donald Trump. The right-wingers who were against Trump were completely ostracized and alienated. Mitt Romney, Kinzinger, some occasional influencer somewhere, but essentially they were all completely united. On the left, this was very much not the case when it came to Kamala Harris. Now, you could say that's good. I'm not making a value judgment. I don't want everybody thinking the same thing. Diversity of opinion is good. And also, when you end up sabotaging your own candidate and ending up with someone worse, you can argue that the ends are very much undesirable. The right, you're either with us or against us. That's it. Mark Wayne Mullen knows it. And so now he's saying, oh, no, RFK, vaccines, autism, RFK, it all sounding pretty good to me. It's because he has no choice unless he wants to be completely ostracized and alienated the way they've done to so many others. We have a fantastic bonus show for you today. We have updates as to what the new Twitter algorithm likes and doesn't like. It probably won't surprise you. Ann Selzer has announced she is retiring from election polling after striking out with that last-minute poll in Iowa. And AI chatbots already are outperforming doctors in illness diagnosis in certain areas. We expected it to happen, and it is happening. All of that and more when I am joined by producer Pat on the bonus show. Remember to sign up at joinpackman.com and recall that you can also pre-order my forthcoming book, The Echo Machine, at davidpackman.com/echo. Physical book, audio book, ebook, it's all available. Every pre-order gets a bunch of free stuff. Just go to davidpackman.com/free book stuff after ordering. 3,400 pre-orders so far. Very nice number, heading towards 4,000. I'll see you on the bonus show, and I'll be back here tomorrow. Well, I wrote a book after a long journey and a ton of work. I am really